Good evening. Before we start our Finance Committee meeting, would you all join in a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Let's stand for our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight for our committee meeting, we do have the members of the committee present, Mr. Brian Austin, Dr. Johnny Hilton, Dr. Sean Reagan, and the chairman, which is me, Cheryl Ray. We also have a member of the subcommittee present tonight, Dr. Ora Spann. Thank you for coming tonight. We also have our superintendent, Dr. William Wright, our CFO, Shatika Spearman, and our administrative assistant, Shantae Scott. This time I'd like to call the meeting to order. Thank you for being here tonight. It's been a while since we've had a Finance Committee meeting, and we just need to get updated on things that have happened. Our last meeting was in May, so we'll kind of get caught up. I know that you presented some of this to the board, but usually at this meeting we'll have a little more time to look at things a little more closely and maybe some time for questions, okay? Thank you. All right, with no objections, we will approve the agenda. Okay, the agenda is approved. And we had no meeting minutes, so we will go over, skip that item there. Okay? And Dr. Wright, we'll let you start with Superintendent's report from the Office of Finance.
Thank you, members of the Board of Trustees, and the President, and subcommittee members as well. I have the very capable Mrs. Shatika Spearman, our CFO, here tonight, and she will be going over each of the items, and I will be available for comment should need be. But we're going to turn it over to Mrs. Spearman at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We can begin with point 4.1, which is the general fund revenue for fiscal year 22, which is closing. Right now, we are in the process of making final entries, correcting accounts, and so I wanted to just give a summary on where we are with the fiscal year 22. Of course, we are awaiting audit activity to begin, and we're still in the preparation stage for that. Generally, for our revenues to date for fiscal year 22, we've collected about 89% of what we expected, which comes to $115,697,179. That is an 89% collection. And a lot of that was due to estimates from the state changing. Of course, we know that at that point was on the old formula based on our WPUs and our counts. And so those estimates changed from when we initially approved the budget for this prior fiscal year. And so we're at 89% collection. As it relates to our expenditures, we are at a 92% spend on our expenditures. And that comes to approximately $121,638,051.47. And as it relates again back to the revenue, I'm sorry, we did not collect all of the county revenue at that time, but it will serve as a receivable for our revenue. So we did collect $600,000 from the county after the year end, but it still shows as due for proper accounting. So we received that in the current fiscal year. So that's where we are. Again, those numbers will change again as we continue to close accounts and evaluate what we have spent with the State Department and anything that we may have to return for certain pots of money, and to make sure that our claims are complete. So that's why a formal report was not provided, but it is a summary of that activity, and of course, we have the audit to prepare for. I believe they'll be, they've been collecting data since I've started. So we send them what they request, and then I believe they're going to do 2 weeks of field work in the middle of September, if I recall, that they will be in-house the middle of September. And so we will continue to work with them. I had a formal meeting with them, and we've been sending the data that they've requested. Well, it definitely will be completed by December the 1st, but we're hoping for November. We're hoping for an early complete.
And do you have an estimated fund balance?
Right now, I'm looking at approximately 30 million remaining in fund balance. Again, unaudited numbers, that could change. That is the estimate as of right now.
Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Ms. Spearman, I know that at our last regularly scheduled meeting, you were talking about the revenue not being collected from the county.
Mm-hmm.
Were they able to provide you with a timeline of exactly when we will receive that additional revenue?
Well, we did receive 600,000, but it was, of course, after fiscal year end. So we received that, and then there's a reconciliation that they will have to do to give us any extra that we may receive. They told us that the end of August would be the time that that reconciliation would be complete. And so I will make contact with them to see where they are with that.
And I have one additional
Okay,
question.
go ahead.
Also referencing the last regular scheduled meeting, I asked about the retention stipend memo. That retention stipend, is that coming out, was that budgeted into fiscal year 22, or is it budgeted in fiscal year 23?
It was budgeted in fiscal year 22
Okay.
in the amount of 2.5 million. And when we make a declaration like that, part of it has to be accrued in the year of declaration. And then for the new employees that meet the criteria, they will be part of the fiscal year 23 spend.
Okay.
So it will be split according to what their final numbers are and when we had employees
Okay.
hired.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
So when you say employees split, the employees that were already here in 22 will come out of the 22 budget, and new hires will come out of the 23 budget.
Yes, sir, you are correct.
All right, and so then the fund balance of 30 million that you're projecting, that took into account what is,
Oh, what that accrual will be?
yeah.
No, it did not. It did not. That's on actual expenditures today, if we had to wrap up the books today.
So what you're saying is that when we pay these retention stipends, it's gonna lower the fund balance?
Well, it could, but we still have closing entries to make that will adjust our expenditures to a certain degree. And so we have to kind of wait for that to happen to see what will happen in the end. But yes, if we look at it as the raw numbers that I have today, yes, a portion of that will be a reduction.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anything else? Okay, all right.
On to 4.2, it is the capital projects update. And I believe a revised report was requested on what I originally sent, so we can pull that. I don't know if you've had any specific questions on those outstanding projects. On the revised document, I added when the spend should have been on each fund. So that will help guide as far as the monies that we have available. So we can talk about whatever you need to talk about on that. And we have some statuses of projects if you wanted to know about that as well.
All right, would you like to start with that?
Okay,
Yeah.
we can. Just to give an idea. For Sumter High, well, we have this by roof repairs, and these are just talking points that I made for me.
Okay.
Roof repairs and replacements. For Sumter High, we have all repair work has been completed at all locations, the Sumter High location, District Office Warehouse number 1, and Broad Street properties with Southern Roofing. Shaw Heights roof repairs is with Atkins. It's a 95% complete on that. Furman, Atkins, complete. R.E. Davis, substantially complete, and that's with Reich. District Office, curb repairs have been completed. Annex, major repairs are being assessed. For Pacala, Lakewood, Crestwood, and Adult Ed, with C.E. Byrne, materials delivery and mobilization are slated to begin soon.
All right, could you repeat those schools?
Pacala, I hope I'm saying that correct.
We
Lakewood.
do it kind of southern, Pacala.
Look, I'm from the South too. Pacala.
Pacala.
I'm gonna get it right.
Yeah.
Pacala, Lakewood.
I'm not the only one.
Okay. Lakewood, Crestwood, and Adult Ed. Our vendor there is C.E. Bourne. Materials, delivery, and mobilization slated to begin soon.
What
You
did
have-
you say about annex?
It says annex for the roof repairs and replacement section. It says major repairs are being assessed.
What does that mean?
They're evaluating what they're actually going to do, evaluating what needs to be repaired with the roof repairs.
So do we have bids on it already, or we don't have bids on it?
I don't think so, not yet.
We're in that process now.
So we have not closed the bidding process.
That is correct.
Has it started?
Not yet.
So the bidding process has not started at all on annex?
They're assessing the roof to see what kind of work that needs to be done. And as soon as we do that, then we can begin the bid process.
And who's assessing it?
WM, which is contractors who assess all of our roof work. And they have done all of the roofing work, making those assessments. And as soon as they complete that, then we'll begin with the bid process.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bates, Alice Drive Middle, and Oakland. The project is in the design phase with consultants. Ebenezer, ADE, District Storage Building, Brun Hill, the bid opening today, which would have been yesterday. And that is for your roof repairs and replacements.
What were those last buildings?
Ebenezer, ADE, Alice Drive, District Storage Building.
And where is that? The one,
Brun
this
Hill?
property
Is Brun, Miller
off
Road?
Miller
Okay.
Road?
I'll get these locations right eventually. For our district-wide painting and furniture, the Office of Operations, along with maintenance, is assessing needs to begin writing specifications for solicitations of various painting projects throughout the district.
And what's the plan there? Do we have an order, or is that going to be assessed about which ones need more? Is that, because from what I hear, most of the schools need painting.
Yes.
Well, painting has begun in a number of our schools.
Where has it begun?
I don't have my complete list with me at this moment. That's something I can send to you.
Okay.
Let's see here. Fund 521. If we look at the revised list that I sent, Fund 521, let's see when that was. That is from the 2018 fall bond spend by fall 2021. Thermal wall, and that we also transferred that to 525. And at the end of this list, we are going to make ask for your approval to switch some projects at the very end. So we'll do that at the end. Just know that's coming at the end. For Fund 520, this is the R.E. Davis practice football field. Environmental testing is complete. Utility markings have been completed. And a survey company has been engaged. Black River Surveying has been engaged. However, it's on hold due to the area being deemed with the main sewage drain field with that issue. Smoke duct detectors for LW and CW. Lakewood and Crestwood, complete. For Fund 524, we have the two-way radios completed for schools through our ESSER funding. Capital funds may be used too for upgraded radios for buses and maintenance. For our Bates HVAC, the new units have been installed in the office and guidance area, as well as one unit over the gym area that was destroyed during a past storm. Remainder of the units in the gym area are slated in the next wave of installations.
Now, these are for new installations. Where does the money come from for repairs? Because there still seems to be some issues with repairs.
Maintenance account is the one that we use for just basic repairs.
From the general fund?
Mhm.
Okay, and who does those repairs?
Some of those are done by our maintenance crew, and if we have to get contractors to come in, or vendors to come in and do that, we do that as well.
So do we have a heating and air person
Yes.
in maintenance?
Yes.
Just one?
We have a team.
Have a team?
Yes.
Okay.
What did you say about buses?
Didn't you say something about, you didn't say anything about buses just now?
Two-way
For the two-way
radios
Yeah.
is what I spoke of, and Bates HVAC is what I was
Two-way
describing.
radio.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say about two-way radio?
I said those were completed for schools through ESSER funding,
Uh-huh.
and that we may possibly use the capital funds for upgraded radios. Oh, you're right, for buses and maintenance on the two-way radios.
Uh-huh.
That's correct, you did hear
So
that.
we're talking about putting, upgrading the radios on the buses that the bus drivers use? And this might be off the subject a little bit, but don't we have some kind of a GPS system on those school buses?
We do.
Are they being utilized?
They are, and there are several.
They are being utilized.
There are some that need to be repaired, and that's what we're working on now. Some of the
Who trains the bus drivers to utilize?
The state. The state will send an individual to do that.
And all our bus drivers have been trained to use these GPS systems on the buses?
Yes, well, basically, the GPS system is one that's used by our supervisors, and there are several different facets of the GPS unit.
I'd like to request some more information on the GPS systems on the buses.
Mhm.
Which buses are being, which buses it's being used on,
Mhm.
and who trained the driver? Because the driver has to know how to use it, correct? Mr. Mike?
Excuse me?
Does the driver initiate, the driver initiates the GPS,
The GPS unit
is connected,
activates when they turn the bus on.
okay?
And there's a report that comes from that goes to the supervisors that the drivers don't have to activate or use it. It's a part of the system itself.
But we pay like an annual fee for this GPS,
Yes, sir.
and every bus is using this GPS system.
Yes, and we're in the process of getting some of them repaired.
So you're telling me every bus is using this GPS system?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like some more information on this if I could, please.
with some specifics.
Yes.
So I guess what I'm hearing, and then what I'm hearing Dr. Hilton saying, is the GPS on the bus is not like your car navigation system that you're putting in a route or something on it. It's something that's maintained by our transportation hubs.
No, it is the route. It is the route. Is it not the route that the bus is supposed to be going on?
That is correct. It monitors
Yeah.
what the buses will do.
Right.
But the driver doesn't put the route into the.
No, the driver doesn't do anything with that. And I think we got off track when she started talking about the radios.
Well, I understand. I changed the subject.
Yes.
I did change the subject. But I want, and I apologize for changing the subject. But I would like to get some additional information on these GPS units on the buses, how they're being utilized, how much they're costing us, and whether they're actually being utilized on a daily basis by the bus driver and the supervisor. Thank you.
As it relates to our Career and Technology Center fire alarm replacement project, the alarm installation is complete. Our fire stopping work and other deficiency work at the Career and Technology Center is complete with the Office of School Facility approval. Security doors. All bids for this project came back over budget during the original solicitation, which was canceled. An additional capital funding was granted in the latest bond, and the project has been awarded and construction is to begin in the next upcoming weeks. So yeah, we've had some movement on that.
And where are we talking about security doors?
Madam Chair, I don't want to expose our schools to the general public.
Well,
about
I
what's-
just meant, did we not have some at the schools anyway?
I can share that information to the superintendent.
Okay, okay. No, I'm not trying to give anything, but I was just wondering where we needed them, because I thought we'd already done that one time.
Yeah, that work is in progress,
Okay.
members of the board already, so we'll get you some information on that.
Marquees at Sassy, Crestwood, Rafting Creek, Hillcrest, Sumter High, ADM, and Manchester. They're all in the works. If they're already completed, okay, so there's an update there. So they've been completed for the marquees. Flooring for various locations. Various locations have been completed, and then we're addressing some flooring needs at some of the schools. Vinyl plank flooring and carpet tiles have been delivered, and installations are ongoing. Furman's covered awning completed. Hillcrest press box. Integrity of the existing unit was assessed by a structural engineer and found to be stable, so renovations are now taking place on the original structure. Our maintenance department is doing the work. It's near completion.
That's at the stadium?
Hillcrest
The
Stadium.
Memorial
Yes, ma'am.
Stadium,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. ADA ramp for Shaw Heights complete. Grading project for Alice Drive Elementary. A civil engineer has looked into this. There are too many underground utilities. Consider underground drainage. So our maintenance director is looking at the possibility of other avenues to find a solution. Sumter High School skylights complete. Storage buildings for various schools.
Can I ask a question about the skylights? When were they completed?
I'll have to get that information to
I'll
you.
have to get that exact date.
I-
I don't have that with me.
I visited Sumter High back in May or June, and they were completed then. at
Okay,
the time
so
of
it's
that
been a
visit.
while.
So, yes, before the start of the summer.
Well, and I visited too, and they were completed, but they were kind of rough looking, so I didn't know if they'd gone back and done any cosmetic
We have,
additions to that. That's
I
what,
want to make sure we can check the date, because I don't want to say one date and then that's not accurate. I wanna
Okay.
say something that's accurate.
Storage buildings for various schools, kits and finished supplies have been delivered and maintenance is scheduled. Demolitions of portable units. Additional funding is complete with remaining funds allocated to the remodeling of that Hillcrest press box. Moving on to Fund 527, our food service monitoring system has been installed at all locations, and we're working with IT to get them all online. High Hill serving line, complete. Okay. And that is an update of our summary of our projects. At the end, I don't know what the protocol is on the request for reallocation that I mentioned earlier, but if you want me to state that now, I can, or just go right into it. We have
That-
2 requests for this.
And that'll be something we'll have to refer to the board.
That's correct.
Okay.
But you
You can go ahead now.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. We're requesting from Fund 524, approximately $57,913. We would like the board's approval to transfer the warehouse entry gates to an unplanned Furman sewer project or other facility needs. The warehouse entry gates were funded from the Security Access Control Funds, therefore this budget is no longer needed. Our second request, Fund 525, in the amount of $112,000. We would like the board's approval to transfer the Ebenezer PA system funds to Ebenezer furniture needs. The PA system is working and does not need to be replaced. Those are our 2 requests.
Could you repeat that first one? The
Yes.
dollar amount for the first one?
The dollar amount, $57,913. And it's requesting to transfer the warehouse entry gates to an unplanned Furman sewer project or other facility needs.
May you repeat the second one for me, please?
Absolutely. For Fund 525, in the amount of $112,000, we would like the board's approval to transfer the Ebenezer PA system funds to Ebenezer furniture needs.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions about capital projects? All right, we can continue.
Item 4.3, our ESSER funds update. As you know, ESSER 1 will be complete of September 30th this month. And we have remaining $99,952 of ESSER 1 funds that will have to be utilized by September 30th. Our goal, our plan for that is we've already expended approximately $45,000 in salary and benefits. We have approximately $40,000 of that encumbered, and we will ensure that the schools and departments ensure that goods and services are received by September 30th for those funds. And that leaves about $15,000 left of items for salary and fringe. And since that runs through the payroll, you don't encumber that, we'll utilize that for the salary and fringe. So we do have a plan for every dime of that, and we do not plan to leave anything on the table. Yes, sir.
Question, so this 99,000 is under sanitation?
Yes.
So when you say you're gonna use it for salary and fringe,
Mhm.
whose salary and fringe are you gonna use it for?
This I believe is for our Ooh, I have to see, maintenance. We'll have to go back and get you that exact group.
I mean, I was just curious if you can reallocate it from sanitation to
Yes, we,
construction, for example.
correct. We can do amendments for these items, and we've done several amendments for ESSER one already.
Right,
And so
okay.
we believe that we will utilize these funds, but I will get you the group of persons who we've been paying on a routine basis and who we do expect to utilize all those funds.
Very good, thank you.
Yes. All right, so that is ESSER one. And that bucket was for $5.5 million. That has helped the district greatly. ESSER two update. We have a budget of about 23,500,000. We've expended 18.9 of that, $18.9 million of that, and we have remaining 4.6 million. These funds expire on next September 30th. So we have activity planned for that. Oh, yes, sir.
All right, so, we all know that because of the pandemic, that our student achievement was not what it would normally have been had we not had the pandemic and had to go to virtual and all this sort of stuff. So we've had these summer learning programs, and so my question is, and this may need to be redirected to somebody in the instruction division, you know, but what are our plans to provide extra, because we have this money here that we can use for after-school tutoring and for other programs that can help to try to catch our kids up from what they lost because of not being in class. So at some point, I would like to have a report to the board, I guess, about how we're going to utilize these ESSER funds for instructional purposes, because that's where our greatest need is, in my mind, is to try to make up this these losses our kids experienced because they had to stay home. So we've got $1 million in this right here, but we also know, based on what you just told me, that we can redirect these funds. And if we don't need some of this money for sanitation or for improvement of procedures or implementation of procedures, then we can put it in for mental health services, because we need that too. Not only do we need to catch our kids up for instruction, but we need to provide services because of difficulties that kids experience, again, related to the pandemic. So I'm off the subject here, sort of, but I think this is a great opportunity for us to utilize this money for instructional purposes and for purposes that will benefit our students. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So if I may, the purpose of the flexibility of ESSER funds within the guidelines, of course, was for districts to be able to do that. And that's why they tiered, I think, that's why they tiered the completion of them. You know, we got ESSER 1s that's supposed to be used by September 30th of this year, and then ESSER 2, because it kind of felt like the districts were going to have to retool. So part of what we have chosen to do, most school districts in the nation, is kind of look at post-COVID, just what you're talking about, looking at post-pandemic and seeing what changes and upgrades and so forth need to be made. So that's a part of of normal operation of business and kind of look and see where our holes are. And you've accurately described, I think, that, you know, there's a multiplicity of issues that need to be addressed. Certainly, mental health, you know, we've got some mental health concerns. We've got some academic catching up to do. And so one of the things that I'm already talking about with our executive team and so forth is we got to evaluate the effectiveness of our instructional programs, which in turn will generate the need to redistribute, if you will, once we kind of know a little bit more about what is and is not working for kids. So that's all a part of the work that we're already engaged in doing, and we'll be hearing a lot more about that as time goes on.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question about air quality. Could you let us know exactly what we've done up to this point, the things that were done for air quality, and I know we talked about a lot of things, and you've told us of some things, but just at this point, what have we done?
Okay. And one thing that we talked about is I want us to be completely transparent with this ESSER funding. I want to put some information on the website.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen a lot of other districts where they've shown some seriously transparent stuff. So once the superintendent would approve what we want to show, so that those type of questions you would know instantly the answer to. So we do understand that that's something that needs to happen. But we will get every one of your requests answered, formally answered, and accurately answered. As it relates, I'm sorry.
Well, so part of what we've, this improving air quality is replacing air conditioning units. Is that not part of it? or
I would
what?
want to make sure that that's what that is, but I believe it's that. I've heard filters, I've heard several things, but I want to get you a complete list on every activity that supported air quality with these grant funds. So I can come back and get that to you and get you a complete
Well,
list.
filters, we just went from an 8 to a 10, isn't that right, Mr. Meyer? Yeah. Does a 10 cost more than an 8?
Here or there.
A little bit, a little bit. Okay.
And how are those being changed? Do we have a district person doing that, or is that done at the school level?
We have district personnel who complete that process.
How many people do that?
That's our building services personnel, all of our custodians
So at each school?
at each school.
So custodians at the school are changing the filters.
Yes.
Okay. But we've been on this filter thing for 2 years now, so, I mean, everybody ought to be operating with a number 10 filter, and they all should have been changed out over the course of the summer and all of that, wouldn't you think? I mean, filter is an ongoing process. I mean, like in your house, I mean, you know, every so often you gotta change the filter out, same thing in the schoolhouse.
Mhm.
So it's an ongoing process.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's good.
But anyway, what you're saying is you're gonna get us some more information about air quality.
Yes, sir, I am.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me go back to filters since we're going. So all the custodial staff at each school is aware they're doing the changing. They're not waiting on a district person to come do it. They do it.
That's been the process since we started,
Mm-hmm.
with the adjustments to filters, and it's been ongoing, and they've been doing a good job of making sure that's being done.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and you've met with them and they know how often to do it. Okay, all right.
As it relates to ESSER 3, of course, those funds expire in '24. We are slated with a budget of $8.9 million, of which we've spent $672,000 of that. And of course, we know that, as Dr. Wright mentioned, that these funds are tiered, and so we can definitely use them for the different programs that we have, and we are able to send amendments to make any changes, so. If there aren't any other questions,
Any questions? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
all right. Fiscal year 2023 budget update. As we all know, the state did change to a new funding formula for the school districts, and what we have is several pots of monies being combined into one funding line. So this is an idea of how the financial report will start to look because of that line item, Education Finance Act, EFA, new funding to the tune of $81 million. That is a change, and so we'll show the budget according to that. And we've received 5.6 of that, and we still expect to receive approximately that. But we do have to keep a watch of what their estimates are, what the State Department of Ed's estimates are for us. So those numbers can still change, as we all know, based on their estimations. So for this fiscal year, 22-23, we approved a budget of approximately $146,673,871. As of August 31st, we're at a 4.2% collection of those funds. On our expenditures,
Can I?
I'm sorry?
I know you sick of me asking
No,
questions.
no.
And I hadn't been turning on my microphone, I'm sorry. All right, so you said something about the Education Finance Act.
Yes.
But the new funding formula is not called they've done away with the EFA, right?
Right, I just wanted to do a reference point.
Right.
That's what that is, but it's gonna be termed.
It's
the
gonna have a new
funding
name.
New funding formula, yes.
But where you got EFA here, that's where the funding's coming from, but it's not called the Education Finance Act anymore.
Correct, and I just wanted to make that
Right.
relation, that is gonna be a new title for us.
Right, we don't know what the new title is?
Well, everyone is referring to it as the new funding formula.
The new funding
That's what it's
formula?
called.
Okay,
Okay.
NFF,
Very
new
creative.
funding
Okay, I like
formula.
NFF, that'll work.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
As it relates to our expenditures, we've spent approximately $7.9 million of our budget, and that represents a 5.44% spend. So we are neck and neck with our revenue and expenditure right there, so.
And just to clarify for people who might be listening in and to remind us, how much of our budget goes to salaries and benefits?
A lot.
Just, yeah, it is. Just an estimate.
I believe the final number was about, was it 75, 80%?
Probably
I
a little bit
believe.
higher than that,
It
yeah.
may be higher than that,
Like 90-something.
Yeah.
yes. So yes,
It's
we,
one thing I think people don't understand, that most of our budget does have to go to, with salaries and the benefits and that sort of thing.
and it has to, you're correct, with
Mhm.
27 schools, yeah, it,
Mhm.
it does, yes.
Okay, any questions?
No.
No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is 5 supposed to be me? Is that what you? Okay. All righty. Members of the Board of Trustees, there is 4.5 there that talks about the implementation of a district-wide salary study. You all know better than I that there has been some activity prior to my arrival concerning a district-wide salary study. It is certainly, in my opinion, professional opinion, personal opinion, it is certainly something that we need to engage in, and I would like to have permission to be able to start or engage in that process over. We have not had salaries as a whole addressed in this district in over 10 years, and so we certainly need to work to try to get that work started, and so that we can be and remain fiscally competitive with other school districts in the area, as well as our fellow employers right here in Sumter County. And so the recommendation is that we engage in that process again. And so hopefully the board can support us moving forward in that direction.
Could you give us a little idea of what you have in mind? Are we going to look at an outside agency coming in?
Yes, ma'am, that is my idea for two reasons. I think that the study needs to include at its smallest regional information. And it needs to be, not that our folks would not do a very good job of doing the very best they could, but it needs to be all inclusive of data that may not be readily available for our internal staff. The other piece that we get an advantage of is outside agencies can readily access information from other governmental agencies, other school districts, which will make it a more comprehensive and inclusive report. So that's why I'm pushing for the need to do an external study, or have an external group do the study. Don't really have anybody in mind, but we can get to doing that work and come back with a recommendation. When we do this, we will make sure that the board is well aware of who we're proposing to move forward with, whether that's done through an RFP study or what have you. We'll make sure that that information is out front. Just wanted to have a discussion at this venue to talk about the desire to move forward and the criticality of it, as we've shared already. Our salaries are at times not very competitive. I'll just say it that way. And so we certainly need to address this and move forward with it from the human resources perspective, but also just to make us more palatable for employees to come aboard with us and remain with us and do this critical work that we have to do.
Okay.
So if we did an RFP thing, then we would request proposals from various
That's correct. Yes, sir.
consultants, and they would give us a bid, kind of a thing, and a plan, and then we would, somebody would assess it and make
Yes.
a recommendation.
That's correct. That's correct. And that part, ladies and gentlemen of the board, we'll certainly do that internally. The assessment of it. We'll get together a committee to go over the plans and so forth and so on. And then all along the way, we'll certainly keep the board informed in terms of what we're doing and how we're doing it and what the time frame would be and so forth and so on. But this will be a part of the superintendent's initial goals. This is something that we absolutely need to get done, so we know where we are and what we need. It'll generate all kinds of directives, hopefully, to say, in order to do X, we'll need Y, that kind of thing. Because we know that anytime these studies are done, we learn about us and kind of where we are and where we need to be. So,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Dr. Wright,
Yes, sir.
when you spoke of the salary study, I know the focus is really on salaries and making sure that we're competitive. But I will also ask that we look at positions and position descriptions
Good.
when we're doing the salary study as well. Because I can't imagine that an attendance clerk at one school has different job duties and responsibilities than an attendance clerk at another school, to ensure that we're consistent across the district with our positions and the personnel in each school.
Okay. A good A well-done salary study would look at that, so we'll make sure that that's included. Yes, sir, absolutely. Position identification, I think, is what I hear you saying, and making
Yes,
sure
sir.
that everything's aligned. Yep,
Yes.
all right.
That the responsibilities of this attendance clerk are matching up with the responsibilities of that attendance clerk.
That's correct, right.
A clerk and B clerk, so to speak.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, anything else?
No, ma'am, that's all I have for 4.5.
Any questions? Any more? Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Spearman and Dr. Wright, for all the information, and
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Myers. Appreciate you being here. All right, so our next step is our recommendations, and we want to carry the recommendations from the Finance Department to the board, and I'm sure you'll have those out for us so we can present that. And then, of course, your recommendation for the salary studies.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, if you'll get the information to the board members that we asked for about the bus GPS and the security doors and the air quality, and was there anything else?
The GPS is on the bus, which is off the subject, but I apologize. I heard the word bus, so you said radio's on the bus.
Yeah, the distinction, if I may, really quickly with that is GPS. I remember this from my old days, Mr. Meyer. So there's GPS tracking, and then there's GPS programming. So what you do in your personal vehicle is you enter information to tell you how to go from point A to point B. Buses use a GPS tracking system that technically is used to track where the bus is and whether or not it's, so there's not programming required because bus routes are already loaded into, that really doesn't require the bus driver to physically enter information in each time the route is gone, because those routes are already, and so it's more of a, looking at it as a tracking system as opposed to what we do with our vehicles.
Yeah, but
Yes, sir.
I'd be interested to know just how we are using the system.
Yes, sir, gotcha. I got that part.
How are we utilizing it?
Right.
How is it designed to be utilized, and are we utilizing it the way it's designed to be used?
Gotcha.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can you repeat those recommendations one more time, please?
All right, the recommendations we're making would be, you want her to read them out to you?
No, whatever
Or-
you said.
The two recommendations from
Mhm.
the Finance Department of the
Yes.
changing the, transferring the funds and the capital funds,
Mm-hmm.
and then our recommendation from the superintendent for the salary study.
Thank
And
you.
using an outside agency,
Thank you.
okay?
Mhm.
All right, we in agreement with that? Okay. All right, then that concludes what we needed to cover tonight. Thank you again for attending, and
Thank
we
you.
will adjourn. It is 6:59.